Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. This is the first weekend where it's like, oh, the TV networks all realize we got inventory to fill. Let's put good games on Friday, although credit to Fox, they have been doing that. And then we actually have some intriguing games on Sunday. So let's go ahead and quickly look at the big weekend ahead, because Friday to Sunday, we got plenty of college hoops. Let's start big game Friday. I'll say this, man. First of all, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, right? And so I'll give you a quick example. Just saw during the break that Victor Wembanyama's out for the year. Like, the NBA is dead, but sometimes you just feel bad for Adam Silver. It's like there's stuff that's out of, Wembanyama's just out for the year. Like, people were excited about him, whatever. I bring it up because the opposite is true as well. Sometimes you could put a game on a schedule and you have no idea what's going to happen. Well, Fox putting Michigan State on a Friday night because they're two big brands, a great rivalry. What I don't think they anticipated at the time was that these are the top two teams in the Big Ten. First place is on the line in this game. First off, let me say this. Michigan, I think, is actually a really cool story. Dusty May comes from Florida Atlantic. And I'll be honest, everybody wants to rave about him. Oh, he's the greatest thing ever, and the offense is amazing, and da-da-da-da-da, this, that. No, that guy can coach ball, okay? Michigan right now is on a 6-game winning streak. They're 20-5 overall, and they're coming off just a really impressive stretch. Beat Purdue a few days ago, about, whatever it was, 10 days or so ago. That was when we complained about the Peacock schedule, but that's another conversation for another day. And then that Ohio State game got feisty last Sunday. You saw about as much emotion from Dusty May as you could. Basically came to the locker room and said, they're trying to bully us. We don't get bullied. I'm Dusty freaking May, okay? And that's a little bit of paraphrasing, but you get the point. But they beat Ohio State. Now we're setting up 1 versus 2 in the Big Ten. Michigan State, to me, good story. I think they're a little bit more athletic than maybe people realize. Started out the year so well. Obviously, what was it, about 9-0 in Big Ten play? They dropped 3 of 4, but have quietly won 2 straight, winning at Illinois, and then they beat Purdue the other day at home. To me, I'll just be real. This is a game that, to me, just favors Michigan. Listen, Tom Izzo, love him, been around forever. He's an icon. Nobody's forcing him out the door. But at the same time, Michigan State is still one of those old school teams. They just don't even shoot a lot of threes. They make a fair amount of them. On the season, let's see this. 633 attempts for Michigan, They shoot the 3 ball and they shoot it well. Michigan State, on the other hand, I think I said Michigan State doesn't shoot. Well, whatever. The point I'm trying to make is that Michigan State is not shooting the 3. Anyway, my stat sheet is getting screwed up here. Bottom line is, Michigan shoots the 3 ball well and shoots a lot of them. Michigan State does not shoot the 3 ball well and does not shoot very many of them. So at a certain point, to quote my old buddy JJ Redick, it's a simple math equation, F-head. If one team's shooting the 3 ball and shooting it well, one team is not shooting the 3 ball as much and not shooting it well, it leads to more points on the other side. So that is a long-winded way of me saying I like Michigan to win this game. By the way, the return game, final game of the regular season at Michigan State. Those 2 games could decide the Big Ten title. But again, credit to Fox. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, because we got a first-place matchup. If Michigan wins, they'll have a 2-game lead in the Big Ten. And if they lose, we will have a tie atop the league. Let's go to Saturday. Going to kind of go out of order here. Intriguing matchup between 2 teams that are just, we just talked about them. Alabama hosting Kentucky. These 2 teams played one of the all-time games earlier this season at Rupp Arena. This one is at Coleman Coliseum. Kentucky traveling to Alabama, 6 p.m. Eastern start. And it'll be interesting to break this down because I just said, Alabama's heading in the wrong direction. Don't love what they're doing. Kentucky's playing above their heads. Credit to Mark Pope, this, that, the other thing. Well, I just bring it up because as I look at this game, I find it very hard to believe that Kentucky's going to win. Not because Mark Pope's not awesome, not because he's not incredible, but there's 2 reasons why. One, Alabama's just a bunch of grown men. Big, physical, tough team. And when Kentucky is going to be forced to play Trent Noah, Travis Perry, Colin Chandler, some guys that either haven't played a lot, haven't been in the weight room. Again, Colin Chandler was on a Mormon mission. You think he's, benching 225 every day on a Mormon mission? No. It's going to take time for him to get back. And so I just think this is a tough spot for them against a big and physical Alabama team. Alabama's also coming off a 2-game losing streak. They're back at home. They need this win. And listen, it's going to be a great crowd, right? Every time Kentucky comes to town, the crowd is loud and energetic and excited. I think Mark Pope's doing his best coaching as the Kentucky basketball coach. I think this is a tough spot for him. I do think Alabama gets the win. Let's keep it going. Saturday afternoon. This is an earlier game. Houston hosting Iowa State. Okay. Really, I'm excited about this game. Now, I know these two teams play a ton of defense, and so it's really hard to, this isn't going to be it's not going to be like Kentucky, Florida, or Florida, Alabama, or Kentucky, Alabama. Let me just put it to you that way. Houston is obviously the best defensive team in college basketball. Iowa State is much improved over the last couple weeks. Currently, the team that is leading the Big 12 in Houston against Iowa State, who is tied for third with Texas Tech. First of all, Iowa State, I think we got to give them a little bit of credit. They had some injuries. Remember, by the way, it's worth noting with Iowa State. Remember, they started the year 18-1. Their only loss was to Auburn in a game which they led by 20 points before they blew a second half lead, okay? So they were playing really well. Then they deal with some injuries. We've discussed it. Our boy there, Milan Momcilovic, I always screw up his name, but he goes down with an injury. They struggle during a tough part of their schedule. Well, to their credit, schedule softens a little bit. They get healthy, and they have won 4 games coming into this. And by the way, even the losses that Iowa State had, it was Arizona at Arizona when Caleb Love hits a 3-pointer at the buzzer to force overtime. That's not a bad loss. And so with Iowa State, Kansas State was playing well at the time. So I could go on and on. But Iowa State is playing much better. Houston, to me, though, is just on another level, man. I mean, one, they're just destroying everybody. They're 22-4, 14-1 in the Big 12. We talked about it last week and last year. The fact that this team just walked in the Big 12 and just started kicking everybody's you-know-what, we need to – Kelvin Sampson is so freaking good, okay? And so you have a situation where they're at home. College game day is going to be there. I just don't see the scenario where they lose this game. They're so elite defensively. They're so tough. And I think the thing that stands out too, you go back to the Arizona game last week for Houston. They got dudes that can make plays in the clutch with the ball in their hands. And so LJ Cryer was incredible in that game. The guards were incredible with the defense. These are two of the more physical, tough teams in college basketball. These are two teams that I absolutely think can get to a Final Four. Heck, I did my how many teams can win a championship last year, and I had both of these teams included as well. So I think Houston wins. I think it's ugly. If you're expecting, 88, 84, probably not the game for you, but I still think it'll be a fun game. Really quickly, which one was next on the docket, producer Matt? Was it Texas A&M hosting Tennessee? I'm going just SEC, Big Ten, SEC, Big Ten. I'm going to be super quick on this. If you think Houston and Iowa State's going to be a tough watch, Texas A&M and Tennessee is going to be scratch your eyeballs out, get this game off my TV level of whatever. Now, they're both good teams, both top 20 teams, both teams that can do some damage, just two teams that rely on defense. Okay, Texas A&M, we've talked about them. I actually give them credit. They kind of know who they are. They're listen, we can't shoot the ball for crap. And so what we're going to do is just crash the glass, be physical, beat you up, and hope to win games 58-54, okay? Tennessee's kind of the same way, but they win games just the same. Tennessee is not as good offensively as they've been. Worth noting, by the way, Tennessee was they've had the week off. Played Vandy last Saturday, survived, got the week off. They're now going to be refreshed. A&M coming off the loss to Mississippi State, kind of proving that, again, in this league, anybody can beat anyone on any given night. This one has 58-54 written all over it. And I'll say this too. ESPN, do us all a favor. Don't put Texas A&M games in the noon Eastern window because it screws. Every Texas A&M game has 84 foul shots, and it screws up the window for the rest of the day. Last week, they played Arkansas. The first half wasn't even done after an hour. Then the next game gets pushed back. Then the next game gets pushed back. As I said last week, I was it was Arizona-Houston after Texas A&M Arkansas. I said, Arizona-Houston fans, get ready to learn ESPN news, buddy, because that's where your game is going to end up. Don't put Texas A&M in this time slot. Put them at 9 o'clock at night. When if the game goes long, it's okay because nothing else is on. It's going to screw up the schedule. That's my big, bold prediction for this game. I believe that the game won't actually be over until at least 2:20 Eastern, and it's going to screw up the game behind it. But hey, another conversation for another day. Last Saturday game that I do want to talk about. I'm excited about this one. Why am I excited? I'm coming off the high of being at BYU, Kansas on, what was it, Tuesday night. Great game, incredible atmosphere. Thank you again to the folks of Provo. Thank you to BYU basketball for making me feel special and important and fun. Your boy ate a cougar tail on live TV. It was amazing. That is a snack, by the way. If you missed it on last episode, you can go back and check it out. But what I would also say, besides the fact that I attended the funeral for Kansas basketball, which is officially dead, BYU's playing really good right now. And we talked about it on Tuesday night. The bottom line with BYU, Kevin Young came from the NBA. And in my opinion, listen, I think like a lot of people that come from the NBA, he wanted to recruit the best players, wanted to, show whatever. And I think what a lot of these guys that come from the NBA realize is that in college basketball, older players win you games. I remember Juwan Howard when he came from the NBA, recruited, remember Josh Christopher, recruited Isaiah Todd, recruited all these five-star kids. And then when he was actually playing well, Hunter Dickinson, by the way, he recruited. When he was playing well, it was with the older guys that John Beilein left over. It was Franz Wagner. It was, remember, Chaundi Brown who transferred in. It was Isaiah Livers. So Kevin Young, I think over the last probably month has really realized, like, I got to rock with these older guys. They might not be NBA players, but I believe in them and what they can do for us. We talked about all the big names. Richie Saunders has been awesome. Mawit Mag is a transfer from Rutgers who's now hitting threes, by the way, but he's a defense energy guy. I think BYU's playing as good a basketball as they have played all year. The Kansas game, I think, opened up some eyes nationally, but this is a team that has won 7 of their last 9 games. And oh, by the way, not only have they won 7 of their last 9 games, they kind of need to win them because the tournament resume still is not great. One of the losses over that 9-game stretch was to Arizona at home. Now, I watched that game. I'll give credit to Arizona. It was a back and forth game. And then Arizona's dudes just started making plays, okay? Caleb Love was phenomenal in that game. Carter Bryant was great in that game. I can't remember everybody who was great. Maybe Jaden Bradley made a few plays. But that was a game that was like, 70-70, and then Arizona went on like a 16-4 run to end the game or something. So I just bring it up because it was back and forth. And as far as this game is concerned, I'm actually going to call for the upset. Okay, I'm actually going to predict BYU goes on the road and gets the win at McHale. Now, I've been to McHale, just like I've been to Marriott Center, an incredible place to watch a game. The crowd is going to be great. But I think BYU is desperate. They're hungry, and I think they're better than people think. And from the Arizona side of things, they just beat Baylor on the road. So everybody's patting them on the back. Arizona's really good, by the way, but they're getting patted on the back. Everyone's telling them how great they are, blah, 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 this and that. And then on top of that, they also, they still got some tough games ahead. They still have Kansas on the road. They still have Iowa State, I believe, maybe Texas Tech. They got another big game anyway. The point I'm trying to make, I think BYU goes to Arizona. I think BYU gets the upset in this game. Finally, last game, Sunday, world's most famous arena. The UConn Huskies, 2-time defending champ, travel to Madison Square Garden. They like to call it Store South in Connecticut to face the St. John's Red Storm. High noon at the Garden. Don't have a point spread yet, but I'm going to say this. I think Rick Pitino and St. John's roll them. I really do. Listen, with UConn, first off, credit to them. I mean, they lost to they beat Villanova on Tuesday night. They were down 14 points with 11 minutes to go in that game. And on the one hand, you can look at it as a great comeback, down 14 with 11 minutes to go. The counter to that, you were down 14 to Villanova after you took maybe the worst loss that any power conference team has taken all year, at least big-time team. They lost to Seton Hall last Saturday. That is an embarrassing loss. You want their best effort. Instead, you come out and easily could have lost to Villanova. Now, you have to give UConn credit for rallying, but I'm just going to say this as a UConn guy. I'm just here to tell you the truth, okay? Listen, I watch all these games, and UConn has played their best when people kind of doubt them. They were great at Marquette. They were great at Creighton, although that was more Liam McNeely going for 38 rather than them, figuring something out. I just think this is who UConn is right now. I think there's too many spots on this roster that aren't good enough. Hassan Diarra I love, but he's banged up at the point guard spot, so that hurts him. Alex Karaban has not been playing well enough. The bench, some days Jalen Stewart's good, some days he's not. Some days Aiden Mahaney's good, some days he's not. Well, I'm just here to tell you, like, I don't think there's some miracle run coming. We talked about it with the Chiefs. Like, people would, don't bet against the Chiefs. I'm like, well, I will, because the Eagles are just freaking better than them. And with UConn, like, I'd love to tell you there's going to be some miracle turnaround. I just think this is who they are this year. St. John's knows who they are. I know they're dealing with some injuries. RJ Luis is banged up, but I would expect him to play. And I just think that St. John's knows who they are. It isn't always pretty, but it is fun. And there's nothing more fun than winning. St. John's, of course, has the 2-game lead in the Big East standings after beating Creighton the other night. How about this? 23-4, 14-2 in the Big East. That is incredible for St. John's. St. John's gets the win. By the way, how about this? Did you see the Rick Pitino commentary from the Vice series? I just bring it up because we did a reel on this. Producer Matt, I don't know if you've seen this. The Rick Pitino reel on Instagram has gone insanely viral. 18,000 views. I think it's at like 300 shares right now. I guess everybody's feeling some Big Rick energy right now. UConn, I don't think, can beat St. John's in Madison Square Garden. And get your Big Rick energy tee.